Anyway. Let's take a look at this. Oh, God. This guy ranting about Loli. Let me make sure there's no images throughout the video. Looks like it's just him talking. Great. So Loli, for those of you who don't know, is a genre of hentai, that being Japanese manga-styled pornography, that deals in images of people that are drawn as if they are underage. Some of them very underage. It's disgusting. It's basically legal child porn. Like, and this guy's gonna defend it. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, there are no victims of Loli. It is just a drawing. But, if you're into Loli, guess what? You're probably a little bit of a pedo. I'm not saying you're a child molester, but clearly you're into little kids, because you wouldn't be into Loli if you weren't into little kids, okay? Very simple. And a lot of these people will say, like, oh, it's just a drawing. Really, this isn't a child. It's a 3,000-year-old vampire, and it's a drawing. It can't be pedophilia. Okay, well, how about this? If someone draws an image, drawn porn, of bondage, of someone being bound, and it's pornographic, we still classify that as bondage porn, even though it's a drawing, right? For some reason, these people, this is the one thing where they say, no, it's not the thing it is, it's just a drawing. Okay, it's a drawing representing something, though, and the thing that it's representing is what you're attracted to, and that's why you like it. If you're into Loli, it's your own fucking business. I don't want to know about it. I think it's gross. But whatever. But you can't come out and defend it and say, it has nothing to do with pedophilia. Yes, it does. Clearly you're into features that are on children. And I'm sorry if that's the case, and you should probably get some therapy to ensure that you don't act on those urges. But, like, it is what it is, people. If you're into Loli, you're into children, because it's literally a genre of pornography depicting what purports to be children. Anyway, let's hear this guy try and defend this shit.
Rants, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for DT, who says, ignore this if it's too spicy, but this has been on my mind for far too...
It's not spicy, it's just gross. There's a difference. Let me subscribe to this guy, and we can add him to the list. If he's talking about Loli, I'm sure he's quite worth taking a look at another time. But yeah, we'll do the Loli thing.
Too long. Please rant about how you're not a pedophile despite being a lolicon without resorting to the I only jerk off to fictional children argument. Fictional entities still represent reality, so although being an anime lolicon is not as harmful as being a real pedophile, I don't see how the fundamental psychology differs.
Let me be clear. If you're into Loli, you're still a pedophile, because pedophile literally just means you're attracted to children. I'm not saying you're a child molester, because you haven't touched an actual child, but if you're into Loli, you're a pedophile, because you are interested in children sexually. That's what that word means.
Well, first of all, that is a mischaracterization of what fictional entities are. They do not represent reality.
They do. They do, though. Again, if you are into drawn pornographic images of redheads, it means you're into redheads. If you're into drawn depictions of pegging, you're into pegging. If you're into drawn depictions of anthropomorphic animals, you're a furry. Right? These things have meanings. It doesn't matter if it's drawn. It's what that drawing represents to you. Okay? If there is drawn bondage porn, it means you're into bondage. It doesn't necessarily mean you necessarily want to actually bind or be bound in real life, but it certainly means that the concept, at least, turns you on.
They represent themselves. Now, when we talk about fiction, we have to understand that fiction is projection. Fiction is you crafting something based on your ideas, your experiences, what you think about, but it has no basis in reality. It's something that it's informed by reality, but it's not a literal representation of reality. Even if
Okay, but it is, though. That's why you pick specific things. If you're into a specific type of art, that means you are into that thing, right? You cannot say to me that you find Loli specifically attractive, but that has no bearing on the fact that it is specifically representing what purports to be underage characters, or what purports to at least look like an underage character. That's what it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be into that thing. Clearly, if you're into this specific genre of lolly, that means you find the fact that they're depicting what appears to be underage characters in a sexualized manner. You find that attractive. That's pedophilia. Again, you can deal with that however you want, but that's what it means.
you're like, say, painting a portrait of a person, the portrait isn't the person.
But it is a representation of that person. If someone handed me an image of someone, like let's say someone, let's even go for a famous painting, for instance. Let's say someone hands me a copy of the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa gets my engine going, right? I'm like, fuck yeah, Mona Lisa. Give me that weird smile. Yeah, weird no eyebrows. I'm into it. And I just whack it to the Mona Lisa. I do a cum tribute to Leonardo da Vinci's Mona fucking Lisa like you wouldn't believe. That probably means I would be attracted to whoever the Mona Lisa was based on, right? There's some prime clipping material for you folks. The same thing applies here. If you are into lolly, it's probably because you find the things represented in lolly attractive.
It's a snapshot of a moment as interpreted by you, but it doesn't have that person's qualities. It isn't literally them. It's a representation of them, but it's also a projection based on your interpretation of them. It's not really capturing them. It's not a photograph, it's not a picture of what they objectively are.
Okay, but like, it is. It is a representation of the thing that it's representing. Lolly is depictions of underage characters. It just is. Period. There is no way you can get around this. It is. And if you like that, at least in some way, you're a pedophile.
It's an interpretation that you have recreated. Now, obviously, if you're jerking off to portraits of little girls, you're probably a pedophile.
Yes! End of story!
But like, the level of abstraction keeps increasing the more that you dive into imagination as a basis for what you're creating.
Okay, if you put, like, little cat ears on the lolly or whatever, I don't know, it's still a fucking child that's being depicted, regardless of if you put fantasy elements in it.
Now, real people are not projections. You can project onto a real person and interpret them and believe what you want them to be, but that is not who they are. There is an objective reality of what a person is. They are themselves. They are, the sum total of all the things that happen to them and the literal space occupied by them.
Okay, but depictions of them can also be seen as them depending on the context. If I have an image, again, of someone, and it's a drawing someone did, it's an interpretation, but it looks like that person, and I jerk off to it, I've basically jerked off to that person, because that's what that image depicts. The same thing applies to lolly. If you jerk off to lolly, you are a pedophile.
And so, it is generally unhealthy to project onto a real person, to make assumptions about who they are or to categorize them in your own mind. They are who they are. So, if you are somebody who's attracted to real-life little girls, you have to be literally attracted to the actual reality of a human being.
What? There are people who are pedophiles who look at, like, child pornography. That's not technically the real person. It's an image of them taken by a camera or whatever it happens to be, but they're still a pedophile. The same thing would apply to imaginary images depicting children. Again, that's not a crime, however, and if someone is a pedophile, I'd prefer they use Loli, I guess, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still pedophilia.
But to be attracted to an illustration is to be attracted to an abstract concept, a projection. It can mean
Yeah, sorry, Apollo 8192, I know.
whatever you want it to mean because it's not a person. It's not based on someone. It's, maybe the person who drew it, projected some idea into art, and then you yourself can project onto that character. And, well, some would argue that that is, maybe damaging to the artist when we get into, like, death of the author arguments about how, like,
Are you really trying to bring up fucking death of the author in regard to Loli? Jesus. This is a lot of, like, post-hoc justification for him jerking off to images of little girls.
All interpretation is fair, but it's not necessarily respectful to the artist to, to project your own feelings onto their work. Not that ultimately matters all that much unless you're going around, like, telling people this is what the art means, and they disagree with you. It's just kind of a dick move, to not at least acknowledge that it's just your interpretation of what the art means.
No! No, it's not! They're drawing little girls and little boys! It's what it is! And I'm sorry, I know this is fucking disturbing, but no, I want to hear this creep be a fucking creep. Like, this shit needs to be talked about, that these people exist.
But the point is that it is completely exists only between two minds. It only exists between the mind of the person creating it and the mind of the person interpreting it. There is no actual reality beyond, lines on paper or,
Okay, but those lines represent something to you, otherwise you wouldn't be interested in it, right? It clearly means something to you.
Pixels on a computer screen, neither of which is, has any rights, I guess. Like, neither of them can be a victim of anything.
Okay, that has nothing to do with whether or not you're a pedophile for looking at it. Again, pedophilia. You're just attracted to children. Attraction to something doesn't require a victim for it to be the case.
So, I think that a lolicon is somebody, typically, who interprets what they're seeing not necessarily in the same way as, like, being attracted to a real person.
Okay, it doesn't matter, though. That's what they're doing.
Speaking personally, I don't find little girls attractive.
Doubt. You absolutely do, dude. You wouldn't be into Loli if you didn't.
I don't even find, like, teenage girls attractive most of the time, unless they're a little old, on the older side of teenage, and look like adults anyways. But it's because when I'm attracted to a person, I'm attracted to the person. I'm attracted to what they, like, how I think they are, and, like, I want to know more about that. I'm not trying to make too many assumptions because I understand, like, if I were to, say, pursue a sexual relationship with another human being, I would want to know more than what I think based on, like, say, a picture that, again, is just a representation of what they were at one moment when usually heavily made up and, photoshopped and stuff. But, like, that's... when you're talking to a human that's a human being, there's...
Okay, what does this have to do with the fact that you're still jerking it to drawings of little girls? I don't care if you don't find little girls to be relationship material or whatever sick fucking shit you're talking about. You're still masturbating to pictures depicting what appears to be children. That is pedophilia by definition.
There's there's an objective reality that you have to confront when it comes to art.
I didn't even notice. This is apparently a video where we're wearing stupid glasses, so I'll wear my stupid steampunk glasses from D&D.
it basically you're just making shit up. You can just believe whatever you want to believe about the piece of art. It's why we can have, like 500-year-old lolly vampire, because
No. Mm-mm. That's an excuse. That's you being like, oh, they're actually not really a child. They're 500 years old. No, they're not. Do they look 500 years old? No one knows what a 500-year-old looks like. They're depicted like a child. Random invite with 50 bits. I don't think your glasses are stupid, though. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's what it is, and that is what you're attracted to. You're not attracted to the fact that it looks like a little girl. You're attracted to the idea of 500-year-old vampire that has this type of body. And
okay, that's the point. This type of body is a child's body. If you were just attracted to like a 500-year-old vampire, you could do the Twilight thing and have it be a more or less an adult that's 500 years old. A better example would probably be like Interview with the Vampire with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, right? They look like adults, and they can be 500-year-old vampires. If you find that attractive and the 500-year-old vampire part is the thing you're into, they can look like adults. But that's not the part you're into. You're into the weird Interview with a Vampire, Kirsten Dunst child vampire, because it gives your brain an excuse to say, oh, they look like a child, which is clearly what you're attracted to. But they're really an adult, so it's fine. It's a way of trying to excuse behavior that you know is repugnant. Thank you to Shamrock Star for 2 bits. Yeah, it's...
like, it's not about... It's not about, like, just the way it looks. It's about the interpretations and the representation. And, like, when it comes to sexuality, there's always a lot of nuanced reasons for why people are attracted to what they're attracted to. A lot of...
It's not that nuanced to say that you're attracted to what looks like prepubescent children.
It, particularly in art, I think, is used to explore feelings that don't have such immediate logical connections. Think of it like dreams. When people try to interpret dreams, if you try to give like too much literal definition to it, you're missing the point that what a dream...
It's not a dream. You're looking at a depiction of a child and masturbating to it. It's very simple. You're complicating this way further than it is. It's not that complicated.
Is just your brain taking all of the stuff that's inside of it and just organizing it, trying to make sense of it, and it doesn't have like a concrete meaning, because it's not a story being crafted with intent and purpose. It's just a bunch of fucking images flying around your brain as your brain tries to organize itself, and you as an observer to it are just left to go like, what the fuck is going on? Because this doesn't resemble reality. It doesn't follow the same logic. And so you become obsessed with trying to interpret it because you want it to be a story. You want it to mean something, but it doesn't. And, you know, there are certain maybe patterns that come up in your dreams that might represent, like, the reason that you keep having this dream is that your brain is trying to organize the same type of information day after day. But it doesn't mean that, you know, your brain is trying to tell you a story or something like that. So when it comes to art, it's not so simple.
Random invite says, I just realized he looks like Thunderfoot a little.
As like, oh, I was, I don't know, abused as a child, and now I'm attracted to children, so I look at art of children.
Okay, that would make you a pedophile. That would make you a pedophile, regardless of the reason that you are that. It would make you that.
You know, like, it's not like that. It's like you might have some kind of odd combination of things that happen to you that cause you to, you know, appreciate art that resonates with you in a level maybe you don't even understand, but there's no, like, clear coordination between that. It's like you look at it and you feel something, and it's your interpretation that is creating that feeling. And I'm getting really fucking esoteric at this point, but, like, you know, I hope my point is coming through in all this. That just...
It's not. It's not. It all comes off as incredibly thin justifications for why you looking at pictures of children and finding them attractive is not exactly that.
It's like, when we enjoy fiction, it's not. I mean, I always like to go to the violent video games thing because that obviously that topic works with a lot of people. It is easier to understand than the topic of lolicon. That like I don't kill people in video games out of a desire to kill people in real life. You know, I don't shoot a guy in a game because I want to shoot somebody IRL. I am repulsed by violence. You know, I'm somebody who's extremely nonviolent, who has never had a violent confrontation, who doesn't, you know, think that violence is ever the answer necessarily. And so, from my perspective, like what I get out of killing someone in a video game has much more to do with the aesthetic appreciation of catharsis.
But that's a different thing, because pedophilia is not... how do I put this? Pedophilia is not saying you molest children, although obviously there's a correlation. What it is saying is you were attracted to children. So if you find yourself attracted to drawings of children, that's what you are.
It's more about...
Murder is about the action you take, right? Not about whether or not it's something you find enjoyable in a fictional sense.
The feeling of like, ooh yeah, like nailing a hit, and just that,
we're almost
that,
done.
Like,
I'm sorry,
haptic,
guys. I know this is bad.
Just like the satisfaction they offer is best represented through violence, as it's just an artistic amalgam of things that, you know, that creates a certain satisfying emotion. And so when we look at pornography, we have to look at it the same way. It's not that, like, I mean, I also like to look at art of, like, ogres, you know, raping and maiming elf girls. Like, I like to look at pictures of people getting, you know, eaten by giant plants and fucked by their giant tentacle mouths and, like...
Okay, but if you are into that, then you would be into vor, right? You would still say you're into that because it's what you're into, even if it's not something that you can do in real life.
Going all the way up through the pussy out the face, you know, like, I look at basically every type of porn. I'm not even particularly a lolly guy, I just kind of like everything, but, like, none of that is something I want to see in real life, you know. I don't want to see a girl get fucking torn apart by demons. That would scar me forever. But, like, in art, it's just this conflation of different, you know, animalistic emotions. In you know, each piece of art, I would probably have to look at a piece and, like, if I enjoyed it, tell you what I personally think I'm getting out of it in order to really make you understand, you know, on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, I just don't think that any of it really reflects reality. Now, am I saying that there is no such thing as pedophiles who are just using lolly art as a way to masturbate to something that looks like a little girl guilt-free? No, I'm not saying that. There's absolutely people doing that. But if you think that that is the only reason anyone would do it, you just don't understand art.
That's a bold take. If you don't understand why I'm into lolly, you don't understand art. Ew, no, stop. Please stop. Please stop. Alright, I've been going for about 4 hours. I'll save this for another day. For tomorrow's stream, probably. Let's raid the serfs, shall we? I hope you all have a wonderful night. I'm sorry that was the video we ended on, but, you know, it is what it is. Raid the serfs TV. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful night. I'll be back tomorrow, and we won't be doing any more gross lolly stuff. It might be a wheel stream. I don't know. We'll figure it out tomorrow. So I hope you all have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there. Chat is valid. Have a good night.